Hello guys. Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Depending on what time you're watching this video, we will learn shortly what those mean. Welcome to our third video for our Spanish class. Today I am going to introduce the first of a series of very basic grammatical concepts that we're going to study in this class. For some of you, this might be a review of stuff that you already learned in high school, and for others, it might be new. It shouldn't be a problem either way. Some schools are pretty good at teaching English grammar. Some never touch the subject. That's not an issue. But for the purposes of this class, since we're going to be learning Spanish grammar, it's important that we have certain specific subjects of grammar that are common both to English and Spanish clear in our heads. And so that later we can proceed with the Spanish knowing exactly what we mean by each concept that we're learning. Okay? So today we are going to learn about sustantivos, or in English, nouns. Okay? We are going to learn several types of words in this class, and the first one we're going to approach are nouns. So what are nouns? Nouns are very basic types of words. They are the ones we use to name all kinds of stuff. Naming, of course, means using a word to refer to something that exists in the world, right? So we use nouns to name people and other living beings, right? So a noun is Humberto. That happens to be my name. Well, names are nouns, right? But you can also refer to me using another word. You can say professor or man, right? Those are also nouns. They are names that are being used to name me, right? We can also name places, and the names of places are also nouns. America is a noun that refers to a place, right? But we can also be more general and say country. Well, country is also a noun, right? It's a name that we use to refer to a specific type of place. We also use nouns to refer to things. Cup is a noun. Sofa is a noun. Lamp is a noun. Oven is a noun. Table is a noun. And we can also use nouns to refer to ideas. Because we also have names for ideas. Hope is a noun. Intelligence is a noun. Tiredness is a noun. Okay? So some examples. Professor Cat College Book, Hope. Those are all nouns. And it's important to note, sorry I went too far here, that nouns are the basic building blocks of sentences, okay? Almost every sentence we can think of in both English and Spanish will have a noun, right? Because that's one of the basic functions of language, to refer to stuff, right? To talk about stuff. In order to talk about stuff, you need nouns, right? Because that's what nouns do. Okay. So that was all about nouns, and that applies to both English and Spanish. Let's get a little bit more specific now. Let's think about Spanish. There is a very important difference between English and Spanish when it comes to nouns, and that has to do with their gender. Their gender. Remember, when I talk about gender, I'm basically talking about feminine and masculine, right? Or male and female. So nouns in English tend tend to have genders, right? For example, if you say professor, it's not clear from the word professor whether I'm referring to a man or a woman. It's just that information is not in the word, right? Or cat, that is it a male or a female cat? Well, if I just say cat, you don't know. If I say my cat jumped on the table, you have a very clear image of what just happened, but you don't know whether it's a female cat or a male cat, because that information is not in the English noun, right? And of course, I'm referring here to things that do have genders, right? People have a gender. People are male or female, right? Or non-binary. Animals have genders too, right? They're male or female. But there are many things that don't actually have a gender in real life. Books don't have genders. It's just an object. Boxes don't have genders, nor do refrigerators, right? That's not the way it works. Well, not always. Because in Spanish, that is not the case. In Spanish, every noun has a gender. For example, we just said that books don't have genders, right? They're not male or female, they are just objects. Well, not so in Spanish. In Spanish, the word for book is libro. Libro. And that is a masculine word. The word libro is masculine. And for college, we use the word universidad. And that's a feminine word. And for hope, we use esperanza. I like that word a lot, esperanza. And it is a feminine word. So all nouns in Spanish have a gender. They're either masculine or feminine. Let me give you more examples. Carro, that's a car, that's masculine. Aula, this is a good one for practicing your open vowels. Aula, that means classroom, aula, and it's feminine. Classrooms are feminine. Lámpara, that's a lamp, that's feminine as well. Nevera, I just talked about refrigerators. Well, a nevera is a refrigerator, and it's feminine too. And silla, chair, that's also feminine. And bolígrafo means pen, and it is masculine. Okay? All nouns in Spanish have genders. And as a general rule, and this adds a layer of complication to Spanish for those people in particular that don't speak any other languages, in general, you cannot tell the gender of a Spanish noun just by looking at it, right? You have to know what the gender is. So when you start memorizing Spanish words, and you're going to start your first vocab list today, when you start memorizing Spanish words, you have to memorize the gender and the word at the same time. When you learn that libro means book, you also need to learn that that is a masculine word. Okay? It's very, very important that you do this. Whenever you learn new words, new nouns, learn the gender as well. Okay? But so basically I said that there's no way to tell the gender of a Spanish noun from the word itself. That's, if you're rigorous, that's true, but actually there's sort of a general rule that we can apply a lot, which helps us figure out the genders of words from their endings. Thing is, there are many, many exceptions to this rule. But this is just 101. So basically, we are going to apply the rule unless I tell you not to, right? And it's actually a fairly simple word. Now, a simple rule, sorry. And I would say that it applies to, I don't know, I'm coming up with a random number here, but I'm trying to think, I speak Spanish. About 80% of Spanish nouns actually follow this rule. So it is kind of useful. The thing is, it has some very notable exceptions, okay? So the rule goes like this. If a word ends in O or O, right, like you pronounce it in Spanish, if a word ends in O, it is masculine. Examples do we have libro, I just told you, that's masculine. We have bolígrafo, that means pen, and it's also masculine. We have carro, a car is also masculine, or banano, that's a banana, and it's also masculine. And then if the word ends in A, it tends to be feminine. Examples, aula, we just did that. Aula means classroom. Profesora, that's a female professor, right? That A tells us that it's a female professor, actually. Pizarra, that means a blackboard, and blackboards are feminine in Spanish. And ventana, that means a window. Windows are feminine as well in Spanish. Okay? So if you see a Spanish noun and you don't know its gender, go to the end of the word. And if it ends in O or in A, almost always you'll be right guessing by using this rule. Okay? Do take into account, however, that there are important exceptions. We will encounter some of those near the middle of the semester, right? But nonetheless, this is an important and a useful rule. Recapitulating very, very quickly. Nouns are the words we use to name people, living beings, places, things, and ideas. And they are the basic building blocks of sentences. They are very, very important in both English and Spanish. But the big difference in the two languages is that Spanish nouns always have a gender. They're always either masculine or feminine. How do you know? Well, you can apply a general rule and it will be true in most cases, right? If the word ends in O, you can say, okay, this is probably masculine. If it ends in A, you can say, okay, this is probably feminine. This should actually be a little intuitive for English speakers because even though English is not a Romance language, it uses a lot of names that come from Romance languages like Spanish, right? For example, Maria, that's a name that you always use and ends in A, and you know that it's a woman, right? Roberto, the Spanish form of Robert, right? Roberto would be the way to pronounce it in Spanish, right? But not many people call Roberto, and you know that O means it's a man, right? So this is all kind of intuitive for many English speakers. O means masculine, A means feminine, right? Not in all cases, but for the purposes of 101, we are going to apply that rule when we don't know the gender of a word. Okay? Gracias, muchachos. That's it for now. Hasta luego.